Alright, so today we're going to be talking about something that's been annoying me a lot recently, and it's really just about how people are talking about the Israel situation in terms of possible government influence, like donating a bunch of money and influencing politics in some crazy way, like they're controlling basically everything in the entire country through things like APAC. And this, well, it just isn't true. And anyone who knows anything about lobbying knows that this isn't true. Anyone who really knows anything about politics and how it's done in the nitty gritty knows that this isn't true. And so today I'm just going to be going over a little bit of evidence that I've gathered just to prove the point that people are kind of over exaggerating AIPAC's influence, Israel's influence on the country as a whole. So before we get into things really here with the evidence I've gathered, I just want to say this is my first time making, recording, editing a video, whatever you want to say. And so I'm just asking for a little bit of patience on that end. I'm not the greatest at it. I just started. So if it's not perfectly edited, if the sound quality isn't absolutely stunning, I apologize. I also just want to say, I promise you, I am not a Mossad agent. I know that won't stop some people from just assuming I'm a Mossad agent because I'm trying to not even saying anything about Israel in this video or what I think of that situation because it's kind of irrelevant. I'm just talking about the claims that they're somehow influencing U.S. politics in some giant way that's completely like unbelievable, which is what some people seem to think it is. Like it's a ridiculous um, influence that they have, and it's like no other country or like no other industry or like nothing else. And it's just obviously not true, and you'll see that as we get further into it. But basically, I promise you, I'm not a paid actor. I'm not anything of the sort. Like I said, I know that's not going to be super convincing for some people, but I figured I'd just throw it out there. This is like my only video, and it's going to be talking about this situation. And so that's that, okay? Just wanted to put that disclaimer out. Alright, so I'm just going to start by real quick going over the sort of argument people make as to why we give them aid. And I think it's a pretty good argument because the other side of it is that we're just giving them all of this aid and support because everyone is like lobbying over here and like paying for everybody's stuff, and so that's why we give them the aid. But that's actually really really silly. Um, so here's why we're actually giving Israel aid and why we've been giving them aid for so long, which we have, and we'll get into that in a little bit and how I feel about all that, I guess. Um, but the argument basically is as follows, and everyone sort of knows this. I don't know why we've been kind of just like in one out, in one ear and out the other with this. Um, Israel is a good strategic partner to have in the Middle East. They're basically the only Western allied country truly in the Middle East. Um, they give us intelligence on the area. We give them intelligence. We kind of go back and forth on these things, and their survival is sort of important for us strategically in the Middle East. It can serve as a staging ground if we need something to get done there. They can do some of our deeds that we want done there. And it's all very kind of, you could say it's kind of a military alliance more so than anything. It's like an intelligence alliance as a military alliance. But we're also just pretty compatible philosophically and governmentally. They're a democracy, we're a democracy. Um, so we just kind of meld well together with Israel. They're sort of a good natural ally to have, like the rest of Europe. I mean, it's not exactly one to one. Obviously, America is unique. Every country is unique, but so no, it's not like one to one, and we don't agree on every single thing. But with alliances, sometimes things get messy, and sometimes things get disagreeable between the partners. And that would be what I would say about Israel's actual value to us. It's a there are economic values. Obviously, we do trade with Israel all of that, but I think their biggest value is certainly the actual position that they hold in the Middle East and what they are being there, a sort of Western power there that's militarily dominant uh, due to us in a big way. I'm not going to gloss over that. Like, that's certainly true. We play a giant role in the fact that they are militarily dominant over there at all. And so that is something to take into account. So now that we've got those kind of basic arguments out of the way about why the U.S. is funding Israel, um, we can now move on to kind of the reason I made this video in the first place, which is to show that they don't have some crazy outsized influence on the US. And it's not a bunch of like foreign actors doing things that you need to be super, super worried about, at least any more than you are regularly worried about lobbying in the US or super PACs in the US. And again, that's something we can discuss, but you know, we're just going to get into it. All right, now you're going to have to maybe excuse me for a second, but I'm going to have to bring in some actual data, something that doesn't actually get brought up very much in these conversations. Like, people genuinely just like to just be like, oh, yeah, you know who's really behind this? You know, if you've ever heard people say shit like that, which is pretty constant online right now, this might be a little helpful when you're determining who we should actually be talking about if we're really worried about lobbying and stuff like that. All right, so let's just get into it. All right, so here is the actual data that I was able to gather from Statistica. This is from 2024, and it's the top 20 leading lobbying spenders in the United States during that year. Okay, this is, again, the top 20. So go through them, you know, use your eyeballs. I know you can. You're probably scrolling reels all day or something, all right? So stop brain rotting for 5 seconds. Stop watching the Nick Fuentes clips for 5 seconds. And just go ahead and feast your eyes upon this, all right? I promise I'll bring more so I can really show you that it's not all influenced by Jews, okay? Unless maybe you think the entire internet is run by Jews, and if that's the case, I don't know how Nick Fuentes is on there. I don't know how Tucker Carlson is on there. I don't know how these people use the internet. I don't know how they do it if it's all controlled by Jews. But let's just look through them here, okay? National Association of Realtors, all right, is the top one. All right, and for as much as people like to talk about the military-industrial complex, Lockheed Martin is number 20. I mean, come on. Amazon is above them. Meta is way above them. Pharmaceuticals is third, so I guess you have something to say about Big Pharma in the lobbying. People usually talk about that, and maybe that's fair. U.S. Chamber of Commerce is number 1, and that's just a bunch of businesses sort of banding together to lobby for what they want from all sorts of industries. So this was the numbers for direct lobbying, just as a little clarification, which is different from something like a PAC or a super PAC, which we're going to get into in just a minute here, but I thought I'd just clarify that. Direct lobbying, along with a lot of, I guess, fundraising for politics, it can get a little weird because it varies a lot in place to place, like how much they're able to donate in which state or county, stuff like that. It can get a little, it gets different. It gets different depending on where you are. So I can't exactly tell you how much they're spending on like one person right now. You can go look that up because it's publicly available if you really care. You can actually just go find that if you want. Because these groups have to disclose that. Otherwise, it's illegal, literally, so they can't not disclose it. But we're going to get into how much AIPAC actually spent direct lobbying, which is just going to be, oh my God. I think you might, honest to God, I think you're going to shit your pants. That's what I think. I think you're probably going to see this number and you're going to think, oh my God, the Jews literally do control everything. They do. That's the only explanation. So be prepared, all right? Get ready. It's going to knock your socks off, all right? Are we ready? Okay, let's do it. Oh my God. Oh my God. Do you see that? Do you see that number? Oh, Jesus, it's horrifying, isn't it? It's so big. It's so big, I can't even read all those numbers. It's too long. But in actuality, it's 3.3 million. indirect lobbying. And that probably doesn't mean that much to you if you haven't got a good reference point as to like how much of the market, I guess, that makes up in lobbying. But I'm gonna do the math for you, and I'll tell you the number, okay? So come close. Come close now. All right. Are you ready for the answer? You did the math yourself, I'm sure. But here we go. I'll tell you. So, they're $3.3 million in registered lobbying spending versus the total federal lobbying, which is $4.4 billion, and the percentage is 0.075%. Okay? It's huge. It's outsized. It's oh God, it's unreasonable, isn't it? It's truly just unreasonable. But let's be fair. Maybe they're just big fans of their PAC money, all right? They don't do a lot of direct lobbying. That's sort of passé now, okay? We don't really do that anymore. That's lame. So we're going to have to focus in here, and I'm going to get you the PAC and Super PAC numbers. Okay, so the one right in the middle there, that's what we're looking at. The United Democracy Project. That is a PAC Super PAC, right? So you're probably wondering, it's 14th on the list of the highest spending super PACs in the country. You're probably wondering, okay, well, how much should they spend? It's got to be a lot, right? It's well, I'll tell you this much. It's not the first, is it? It's the 14th biggest one. But I'll give you the percentage breakdown, how much they spent versus how much was actually spent by super PACs in the last election in 2024. So, here we go. Are you ready? This is another one of those ones where it's like, I don't know, you might shit your pants. All right, it's big, it's scary, and my God, I don't even know how I'm gonna sleep tonight. But so it's 37 million is what they spent, nearly 38 million, and what was actually spent overall by super PACs was 2.6 billion. So if we're gonna do some math here, it comes out to 1.41%. That's scary, isn't it? You shit your pants? You realize the truth that the sinister Jews are controlling the country yet? Have you realized this? Have you figured it out? No? It's only 1.41%? Okay, so this is what I want you to think about. All right, these are the numbers. These are the hard numbers that I'm giving you are what's actually, as a percentage, being spent. Do you think that an organization that makes up 0.075% of the market in direct lobbying and 1.41% of the market for super PACs is controlling the country via those numbers? I just want you to think about it. It's just something to think about. Do you think that that is possible? Me personally, I really don't think that it's possible. Like at all. It doesn't really make any sense, number one. And number two, it's not how lobbying works. Lobbying is not a simple payoff method. Most of the time, it's these groups funding people they already agree with. All right, so this idea that politicians get elected and then the guy with the briefcase comes in and like sets it down on the counter and he's all like, "Open it up, bub. Let's let's make a deal. You just do what Israel says and you get to keep getting reelected." That's not real. That's not a thing that actually happens. I'm going to try and avoid a lot of identifiable details about myself, but let's just say I've been in the rooms where those sorts of discussions are happening about lobbyists with candidates, and it's just not what happens. It's not what happens. The training basically is this, okay? If a lobbyist comes to you, you just take the money because it's free money, and then you just don't have to do what they say. That's it. And as you get more established as a politician, you can be more discriminating because you'll have different resources coming your way. Um, different lobbyists, basically, different people willing to help you um, in your political journey. But in the beginning, that's sort of what they tell you. And you can feel how you want about that. I'm not trying to say that, oh, you have to be okay with lobbying. That's not my point. You can be anti lobbying. That's fine. That's not what I'm trying to prove here. What I'm trying to prove here is that people are sort of over hyping this idea that Israel is controlling everything. The numbers don't lie. They just don't have the numbers to do that. And another thing that people really don't, I feel like, know about somehow is that it's not Israel funding these things. It's people, mostly Jews, supporting AIPAC. And it's even more complicated than that. And I mean, what I mean by it's Jews doing it, it's citizens. It's U.S. citizens who are politically active and they want to give their money to AIPAC. So they get large donors, they get small donors. It just is what it is. They're just an organization for people to get their voices heard, and that is what lobbying is. Some of them are more grassroots than others. Don't get me wrong. Some of them are very like corpo kind of lobbying groups where they're just trying to get business handled. But so yeah, it's just something to take into account. It's not Israel funding AIPAC. It is American Jews doing it. It's not like it's literally foreign interference. That's very illegal. That would not stand, and I feel like some people don't even realize that. So that's just something to keep in mind. So with all that being said, and my points kind of being made about the money involved here, and how I don't really personally think that Israel could possibly control the U.S. policy with that amount of money involved through its lobbying groups, and that's what the accusation is for most people. I do want to say, if you're against lobbying, that is totally fine. That is your right to be against lobbying. If you're against foreign aid, again, that's totally fine if you want to be against foreign aid. I just want to have an honest conversation about Israel's influence, that people seem to think that everything that the U.S. does to help Israel is basically because the U.S. is controlled by Israel, which is completely ridiculous. Not trying to be mean to Israel here, but Israel's kind of, I don't want to say irrelevant to the U.S. like in terms of a power struggle, but they're kind of irrelevant to the U.S. in terms of a power struggle. It's like Connecticut trying to fight the entirety of the U.S. Okay, like it's there's really not a power struggle there. Israel knows who's in charge. It's us, and they are kind of under our dominion, you could say. I mean, I don't. Obviously, they're independent, but they're very, very influenced by us. So that's just another thing to say. But anyways, if you are against foreign aid, lobbying, whatever, that's totally fine. I didn't make this video to try and attack people for views like that. I don't really find those views to be super problematic, even if I have my qualms with them. Um, which I might discuss in a future video how I feel about either of those things. But the most important thing I just wanted to point out here was the fact that this idea that AIPAC is somehow controlling the U.S. or making like huge advances politically. First of all, that's not how lobbying works. Again, they kind of just support candidates that already hold their opinions, and because it's way less work. That's okay. This is just something people I feel like just don't straight up don't understand. They're not gonna fund somebody who disagrees with them and try and like get them to change their mind. Like, so if someone gets elected and they're like disagree with Israel, right? They're like, oh, I don't want fucking Israel. I don't want to give them foreign aid anymore. I don't want to give them military support anymore. I don't want to do this or that. Israel's not going to show up with a briefcase to that guy. They're going to show up with a briefcase to his opponent and be like, hey, we're going to fund you because this guy is like trying to go against our interests. And that might sound like, oh, that's kind of weird and like, oh, it's like behind closed doors and it sounds kind of gross. But you have to keep in mind that That is just lobbying. Like that is just how it's done. It is interests held by certain groups within the society, and they're funding that organization to push for those interests. So pharmaceutical companies do this. This is a great example. People always bring it up. And pharmaceuticals do this exact thing all the time. If somebody's super anti-pharma or something like that, and they want to do something to, regulate them, um, then the pharmaceuticals aren't going to go to that guy who's really outspoken on pharmaceuticals and like, oh, I don't like what they're doing. They're going to go to the guy who's like, yeah, I don't really care, or yeah, I actually support the pharmaceutical companies and what they're doing. That's who they're going to go to because it's easier to just fund the person that they agree with than to try and like mind switch everyone. So they don't have control over the democracy. And I don't think lobbyists do generally, to be clear. I'm not going to say that lobbying money hurts people. It certainly doesn't. But the idea that lobbyists have like total control is absurd. Um, just as an example, I mean, the Democrats had way more money in the last election than the Republicans did. And, well, they lost. And pretty succinctly, too. I mean, like, pretty, pretty big time. I don't know if you remember 2024, but the Republicans won that in a big way. They held everything, really, during that election. And they had way less money than the Democrats. So the idea that money is the answer to everything politically is just not true. It kind of is an easy answer that you can give people, and they'll be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. But it's not actually the case. Okay, so I'm just going to reiterate kind of what I said in the beginning, but I feel like it's worth saying again. America is not doing Israel's bidding. Um, it's just so silly that I have to say that. Israel is tiny. All right. The reason we're doing things to support Israel is because we find them to be strategically beneficial for us. That's it. You kind of have to think of the world like Hearts of Iron 4 a little bit for the autistic crowd out there. You kind of have to think of the world as like Crusader Kings for the slightly less autistic crowd out there. Um, and I don't know, for the regular crowd, I don't know. Maybe, like think about it like we're all playing the game Risk, if people still play that. Uh, so, like think about it. It's very strategic. People are strategic still, and it's not something that's really thrust in the limelight because it's not super flashy to talk about strategy on the global scale and stuff like that. It's not super fun for most people to think about those things. So just try and keep that in mind a little bit. What we're doing, and people do mess up strategy. It's just like, well, any game of strategy, you can mess up. And everyone's fallible. Administrations are fallible. Um, and the worldviews that people take on are certainly fallible. So yes, people make mistakes, people back the wrong horse. That doesn't mean there's any maliciousness behind it. It could literally just mean that they made a bad decision. And that is the case most times. I forget the exact quote, but it's like, don't attribute to malice what can first be attributed to stupidity. Something like that. I don't know who said it, so don't ask, but you can probably Google it and find out. I would say think about the world more like that, and you'll have a more accurate depiction of the world in your mind. People are kind of dumb, mostly. Everyone makes bad decisions. We've all made bad decisions. And politicians make bad decisions all the time. So that's just kind of what I'm going to say, where I'm going to leave it. I don't think Israel is controlling the U.S. The claim is just really absurd, and I guess just put on your thinking caps, next time somebody's ranting and raving about the Jews controlling everything. I mean, you're smart, okay? I'm just gonna here's the secret trick, all right? If anyone is trying to say that a secret cabal of super coordinated people are controlling anything, they are dumb or insane. Those are the two options, dumb or insane. There has never, ever been something like that historically, it is insane. And if it does exist historically, which there are cases of this kind of thing existing, that is literally the premise of the society, and everyone knows. Like, for example, like a kingship or something. Like, it's not secret. Or an aristocracy. It's not secret. Um, so I'll leave it there for now. This was fun. I'll probably make more videos. This was a good time. Um, but yeah, I hope you guys have a good night. I hope you enjoyed the video somewhat at least. And I don't know, go re-indoctrinate yourself with Nick Fuentes if you disagree with me. That's fine. Hope you have a good one. I just hope that people wisen up a little bit because this whole thing is a little bit ridiculous, okay?